Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much again for joining me here. I hope you're having a phenomenal day. Quick look at the altcoin market update. Starting with Bitcoin, just give you a quick analysis here. Simple way to understand it, we are looking very solid here. Increased volume, sustainability above 118, that's that point of control. We have altcoin dominance increasing, and on the back end, this is probably the most important, alt season index is starting to jump. We're seeing a 32 from yesterday to a 37 a day, basically implying that money is flowing into altcoins and or just the traditional crypto market. It's looking very fantastic. Fear and Greed Index is also maintaining that 60 to 70% range. And if we do take a look here at ETF net inflow, this is super strong, essentially telling us here that we are increasing and or sustaining a very large amount of money flowing into ETFs. And that's a super sustainable indicator, if you will. Okay, so let's go ahead and get things started off here with Bitcoin dominance and kind of go from there, and then jump obviously into our back-end liquidation data for Ethereum, Solana, SUI, and XRP. So starting with the important stuff here. First of all, Bitcoin dominance is right here. Let's take a look. It is on its way down fairly well, nosediving right now, you could even say, right? Breaking its descending trend here if you want to kind of consider that. I don't really love trend lines on Bitcoin dominance. I think it's a bit of a false positive there, but generally speaking, outside that placebo there, we can see the fact of the matter is here, the trend is shifting and we're starting to see the spike in money flowing into altcoins. And just to clarify, if you're not familiar with this, when Bitcoin dominance comes down, it puts us in one of three situations. If Bitcoin price stabilizes, then altcoins go up. That's basically what we've been seeing recently here. But now we're starting to see Bitcoin price go up, and it does kind of trigger alt season. And alt season needs to be taken with a grain of salt because we're not just going to see every single coin going straight up. But there's some outliers, some really strong ones that will continue to do well. And these are the coins that are outperforming Bitcoin right now. So super strong. Majority of these coins are coins that we trade within our community. So obviously, continue to hold those coins, but don't get too crazy greedy. But on the same accord, if you're using realistic leverage, you should be in pretty good shape. So let's go ahead and go ahead and start with our analysis here for some of these altcoins here that are surging right now. First of all, the main one, of course, is Ethereum. So it's kind of giving you a perspective on where Ethereum's at. It's doing super well, awesome stuff, above all moving averages, above its point of control, its previous resistance at this 0.68 golden pocket level at about 3050 or 3050, upwards about 3150. So we kind of got this nice support range. The price pulls back to that range of 3000, solid consideration for long, but I think that ship has sailed. Let's take a look here at the back end liquidation data and kind of go from there. Right now, open interest super high at about 2980. So that $3,000 support range is holding strong. I slept through our entry at 3,000 to give you perspective. This is a coin I was looking to trade. Furthermore, too, open interest, liquidation long delta is at 14 billion. That is a significant margin. That is a lot of money flowing into this coin. Okay. And then furthermore, too, we can see with liquidation here as well, there is a little bit more between 3,300 to 3,400. We may start seeing some slowing pressure soon. All depends on Bitcoin. So overall, Ethereum has like the green check mark for definitely good to go to try to invest in this coin. Just keep in mind, FOMOing into what feels like the top for the moment may not be the greatest idea. Waiting for a pullback could be a better idea. But once more, I've been waiting for a lot of opportunities that haven't been happening recently. And I'm sure you know that if you've been watching my videos, you'll be like, hey, some of your entry targets are a little off. And the truth is they are off, mainly because we haven't seen that CME gap from Bitcoin getting filled. We see some nice House, Senate, crypto bills getting passed, all sorts of crap getting thrown out there fundamentally this week. And that's a good sign too. But just know once that all hits, the realism will set in and we should see somewhat of a correction. But once more, this is awesome nonetheless. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right, so Ethereum, that's kind of the overall summary there. Now take a look here at Solana. This coin is making some waves here. First of all, we broke above our 200-day SMA. We spent about 4 or 5 days underneath that. Finally broke through here today. We can see a solid continuation higher to break through that local resistance of 168. That's that point of control. There's a lot of liquidation above the price action there too. So let's take a quick look here. We can take a look at Solana. For starters, looking at the liquidation, majority of all liquidation last 7 days has been swept. That 160, 170 range, 168 to 170, significant squeeze there. So we saw a big short squeeze there. We can see that reflected here with our liquidation long delta shifting bullish. We went from break even to 1.5 billion in the last hour. So this coin is just surging right now. And we can see that open interest area 168, previous resistance, likely to work as a new low or support. And how that works too, if you're not familiar, is we have a lot of confluence here with resistance. Now that we've broken that, the likelihood expectation is for that to be the new low. So right there at that golden pocket, that 165 to 167 range would be an excellent opportunity for a long if the price were to pull back to that level. Emphasis on the word ifs today, right? Because a lot of ifs and hypotheticals here that aren't really truly happening, and we need to be mindful of that. Last but not least here, or just quickly looking here to summarize with Solana, all CME gaps have been filled, so there's no reason to expect any pullback based on that incentive there. And I forgot to mention this too, I apologize. There is still a CME gap that exists for Ethereum at 2850 to 2900 as a rough estimate. So that was the area I was looking to try to get into a long. Got a little greedy on the entry and never got filled. So that's kind of what we're looking at there. Looking at SUI here, let's go ahead and take a quick peek. And just to clarify, SUI is one of the few coins I'm shorting right now, and I know it's a high risk consideration, but I'll explain more so why I feel that. And I hope I'm wrong and the price goes up. Truly, I love this coin. It's one of my larger spot bags, but from a macro perspective here, we have tons of resistance in the 4 to 410 range, and outside of some of this local liquidation, I think there's a decent chance we may see a pullback. But once more, when you see all this liquidation here, there's a solid chance that we do see a spike up to sweep that level. So that is definitely something you want to be kind of mindful of. Upwards about 440 is that local liquidation level. Also, liquidation delta is super high. So you're probably wondering, wait, why would you want to try to short against that? Well, the truth is when it stays too high for too long and we have a plateau and this coin is coincidentally underperforming versus most other coins in the last 24 hours, those are kind of like little signs kind of letting me know that we're topped out here tentatively and some profits need to be taken. It's kind of like almost a perfect storm in the wrong direction. And if we do take a look here, let's actually make this a little easier for open interest. We can recognize $4, that heavy concentration. There's not a lot of support below the price. So we do lose $4, the local bottom of 380 or 360, the previous high. That seems like a very sensible place to consider the price action pivoting and returning back to somewhat of a norm, right? That's also that 0.618 fib level, a lot of confluence in that range. So that's just me personally. All those fair value gaps and a lot of resistance in the current range just leads me to believe that we should see a pullback. The only thing that would incentivize SUI to run to the upside right now is if Bitcoin starts charging towards 120, 122, that range there, we will see SUI pump at that point. Last but not least, take a look here at XRP. The overall sentiment here is fantastic. This coin's rocking and rolling, but you got to recognize too, $3 is that heavy resistance based on previous highs, as well as the macro fib levels here. We got that 0.786 fib there. While I'm not a firm believer that fib level is like super consistent, it's consistent with the previous highs and that adds to confluence. And that's how you're supposed to use fib levels. I mean, most Elliott wave theorists should know this, but unfortunately, from what I understand, they don't. You really just have to understand that fib levels make a difference if there's other confirming factors. Standalone by themselves, they mean very little. Okay, so just friendly advice there. Be very careful in kind of believing everything there, because Elliott wave theorists are very successful because, well, they seemingly are very successful based on the fact that they provide you with multiple case scenarios. You're always going to be right if you throw out 100 different numbers, right? If I give you 50 different targets, I'm going to eventually say, I'm going to be right in one of those targets because I give you so many possible scenarios. Anyways, conversation for another day. You all know, if you've been watching the channel for a while, how I feel about that. So taking a look here at XRP, quickly to recognize, back in data, significant areas of confluence at 295 and 280. Those are kind of like those two heavy support ranges. So the price does end up pulling back. We see a pullback. Those are great areas to consider dollar cost averaging. We look at open interest, or correction, this is liquidation long delta. You may not be able to see it on the screen, but it is at about 400 million right now, up from kind of like that break even from a few hours ago. So we're starting to see that money flowing into XRP2, just kind of giving us the indication we may be shifting gears and retesting this higher high here. So this is a bullish type of continuation pattern. We also have 305 to 310 as that liquidation range. So my speculation is we see a pump up to 310 and a pull back from there. So I don't think it's a good coin to consider shorting at this point, even though it's massively overextended. Very similar to SUI. It just has a lot more confirming factors to me that make it more likely to be sustainable in this range. So those are kind of my thoughts. But either way, if all goes well, we see the CME gap from Bitcoin getting filled at 115,000. We see some of these local highs being retested as new lows, and that's when we're going to ready, set, launch, ready to go. So I've got a lot of alerts in case you're not familiar with my community, and just to kind of what I'm doing right now. I've been waiting for opportunities that haven't been happening. It's just kind of a series of unfortunate events based on fundamental things here, especially with the crypto, House Senate bill stuff going on too. That's really throwing a wrench in the retracement. Okay, so overall, this isn't bad, not terrible. It's a very good situation. So just keep that in mind. But future reference, I will be executing some long plays here soon, as soon as we get just that minor correction. All right, folks, I hope that makes sense. I described it correctly. I really appreciate you watching and always being an amazing part of my life. You know who you are. You're the person that's always hitting the like button, always commenting below, and just being an integral part of my life. So appreciate that. Let's get this channel flowing and get things moving forward here. And all the support you provide is greatly appreciated. So have yourself a great rest of your day. We'll look forward to seeing the next one. Take care of yourself out there. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.